Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, ceasefire inside Gaza. Is it in effect or not? Daily skirmishes with Hamas, continuing attacks and construction of more tunnels. Prime Minister Netanyahu, skeptical about negotiations with Iran, underscores concerns about Israel's security. Plus, U.S. lawmakers mobilize to keep out Sharia law. And making music together, students of all faiths at the Jerusalem Academy of Music and Dance. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Julie Stahl. This week, President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu had a White House meeting closed to the press, after which the U.S. began increasing its military presence in the Middle East. And in Gaza, there appears to be no new developments in the disarmament of Hamas. Here's the latest on these and other stories.
On Truth Social, President Trump said he told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that he prefers to make a deal with Iran. There was nothing definitive reached, other than I insisted that negotiations with Iran continue to see whether or not a deal can be consummated. But if not, we'll just have to see what the outcome will be.
Well, look, the president's told his entire senior team that we should be trying to cut a deal that ensures the Iranians don't have a nuclear weapon. But if we can't cut that deal, then there's another option on the table. So I think the president's going to continue to preserve his options.
One of those options is a credible military threat. The Wall Street Journal reports the Pentagon ordered a second aircraft carrier to prepare to deploy to the region. This adds to the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier, F-15 and F-35 fighter jets, and Patriot missile defense batteries. Prime Minister Netanyahu's statement said the discussion included negotiations with Iran, Gaza, and regional developments, and added the Prime Minister emphasized the security needs of the State of Israel in the context of the negotiations. Israel is concerned not only about Iran's nuclear program, but its arsenal of ballistic missiles. President Trump and Secretary of State Rubio have said missiles should be part of the negotiations, but Iran's foreign minister says they're off the table. Israel announced the successful test of David's Sling, one layer of Israel's multi-tiered anti-missile defense system. It's concerned Iran could launch hundreds or thousands of missiles at once to overwhelm its defenses. In a rare move, President Masoud Pezeshkian acknowledged that the crackdown on the protesters caused great sorrow.
We are obliged to serve all those who were harmed during these protests. We are ready to listen to the people's voice. We are their servants. We are not seeking confrontation with the people.
Some observers dismissed the apology as an attempt to curry favor with President Trump during negotiations. The regime has killed as many as 40,000 or more protesters. This man shared what happened to his wife and daughter. 2 days ago, she went to the courthouse asking why they killed her daughter. They sent her to prison. In prison, they raped her. They also handcuffed me. They killed my daughter for protesting. People, wake up. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Escorted by the Israeli Defense Forces, CBN News visited an outpost in central Gaza, just 200 yards from the Yellow Line, dividing Gaza between Israeli and Palestinian control. It's a place where troops here say Hamas skirmishes and attacks occur regularly, despite the ceasefire.
In this area specifically, but all across the Yellow Line, Hamas keeps passing the Yellow Line on a daily basis, testing our troops, even carrying out attacks just this week, severely injuring one of our troops.
The objectives for these Israeli soldiers are defending the Yellow Line and finding, then dismantling Hamas's vast tunnel network, where more than half have yet to be discovered.
This is maybe the world's largest terror tunnel infrastructure in history, and this is something that's going to take time to find all of it and to deal with all of it. And we're not even talking about the tunnels that are across the Yellow Line, that we are not dealing with them right now.
Here in Gaza, implementing the disarmament of Hamas has remained unclear, with Israeli officials increasingly believing that stripping the terror group of its weapons will be impossible without the IDF taking military action.
One thing is clear, they do not want to disarm, even though they committed to it, and someone needs to make them.
In Jerusalem, Prime Minister Netanyahu returned from his 7th meeting with President Trump. saying he's skeptical a good deal could be worked out with Iran.
If indeed an agreement is reached, then it must include the elements that are very important from our perspective, from Israel's perspective, and in my view, not only Israel's. It is not only the nuclear issue, it is also the ballistic missiles and also the Iranian proxies.
While the groundwork for talks with Iran continue, the Israeli Navy is conducting drills with its warships, while President Trump confirmed through a post on Truth Social that a second aircraft carrier is being deployed to the Middle East.
We have to make a deal, otherwise it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got Midnight Hammer instead.
The Trump administration has denied stirring further protest in Iran, but did admit it smuggled thousands of Starlink terminals into the country to counter the internet blackout imposed by the regime. Paul Petitte, CBN News, Jerusalem.
I'm joined now by our Middle East correspondent, Paul Petitte. Paul, welcome back. You're with us now for the next few weeks, and you jumped in with both feet on your second day with a trip embedded with the IDF into Gaza.
Yeah, right into it, right? Parachuting me in. It was fascinating finally to be able to go there. I've been reporting on it for the better part of the year. You've been since the get-go, but to actually see it, to see that yellow line which divides Israeli territory from the Palestinian area, you know, and to see it up front and to hear what's really going on there on a daily basis was very, very eye-opening.
Yeah, and how did you feel when you were there? What were your impressions and
Yeah, it's amazing where you go from this green, beautiful area, and then all of a sudden, the gates open. You go further into Gaza. It's just a dust bowl, if you will. But seeing the troops that are sort of in this riser, if you will, above where the encampment is, on a constant lookout, you know, because what's happening there, a lot of people think, well, you know, there's a ceasefire going on, so you know, all quiet on the Western Front, so to speak, but that's anything but the truth, as they're telling me that on a daily basis there's a skirmish, there's a shooting. Matter of fact, one of the IDF troops was injured just this week. So the disarmament is anything but really at this point.
Yeah, I know. You know, it really, it breaks my heart, really. Israel pulled out 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, left that place in the Palestinian hands, and it could have been like Dubai. It could have been this gorgeous resort area. The beaches are beautiful, the sea's nice there. They could have built hotels. Instead, they invested it all in weapons and death and destruction and teaching the kids the wrong things. And now this is what you get. Yeah,
it's sad. And, you know, I mentioned the tunnels in the story. They spent their money on tunnels. Exactly. We're talking probably the largest tunnel network in history. Yeah. And they're saying they haven't gotten into half of the tunnels that exist because they've only been able to find and then destroy the ones on this side of the yellow line. They have yet to go actually into Gaza on the other side of the yellow line. So really, that effort is just in the very, very beginning stages.
So what do you think? How do you think that this peace process is going to move forward? Is Hamas going to disarm on their own?
Yeah, what do you think, right? I mean, think about it for a minute. And that's been the problem. That's been the stalemate, as I said in my story, is that was part of the plan back 4 months ago. Now here we are, fast forward, and that hasn't even started yet. So now there's talk maybe it'll happen in phases, or they'll give up, you know, their larger arms and keep their weapons. Either way, when you put weapons in the hands of Hamas, death will occur. The hatred will continue. So how is that going to happen? And I think you especially know that without force, Hamas isn't simply going to say, okay, well, here you go. Everything's good. Here's our weapons. You know, we're good from here on in. Simply unrealistic.
Yeah, I know. And, you know, they're saying, oh, we didn't agree to be disarmed, but they did. That was how Israel pulled back. But that's part of their culture, their way. And if that's already what we're seeing, what would it be if Israel pulls out completely? They're still going for their ultimate goal of destruction of Israel.
Yeah, we could see another October 7th, regardless of the kind of weaponry they have or have hidden.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us, Paul, and we're glad to have you back.
Always good to be back.
President Trump's plan for stabilizing the Gaza Strip involves an international board of peace, which includes Egypt, Turkey, Qatar, and Jordan. One of the board's goals is to disarm, demilitarize Hamas. Our bureau chief, Chris Mitchell, spoke with Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister, Sharren Haskel, recently to get her thoughts on this process.
Deputy Foreign Minister Sharren Haskel, thanks so much for your time. We're looking at a new phase in Gaza. What's your concerns or your thoughts about moving to phase 2 inside Gaza?
President Trump believes that through diplomatic pressure, we are capable of dismantling Hamas. I have my doubts about it, but I think he has done some incredible moves that people did not imagine he was capable of doing them. I think that President Trump does have enough leverage to pressure some of the actors that can pressure Hamas to disarm. And if that pressure is being applied properly, that Hamas will disarm. The question is whether those players have the will and the intention to actually do that. And so in the time frame that he put for that, I think, it's okay. But it's pretty obvious for everybody that if they are unable to disarm Hamas through diplomatic pressure, then it will be Israel's job to go in and through military means to actually disarm Hamas. And we will be left with no other choice. And the international media is very silent now. But trying to say, we only want peace, we only want diplomacy, well, this is your chance. Go and do it. Apply diplomatic pressure. This is months of time that you have, to liberate the Palestinian people from the hold of a terrorist organization that's been indoctrinating them and controlling them for the last 20 years. Go and do that. Report that. Put pressure on them to disarm. Otherwise, we will be in another probably military confrontation to disarm Hamas. And then you'll hear all the international media suddenly outrage, this is impossible and you need to give Hamas more time. Well, where were you? Now for months and months and months where this pressure was needed. And so unfortunately, we see a lot of weak leaders in the international community who are very brave to say a few words, but are very weak on making any actions.
In response to the cautionary tale unfolding in Australia and Europe, politicians on Capitol Hill are uniting against the spread of jihad in the U.S. This has become a critical issue for one congressman. Texas Representative Keith Self spoke with CBN News Capitol Hill correspondent Michelle London about the Sharia-Free America caucus.
North Texas has had 20 mosques in the last 2 years.
Congressman Self draws a direct connection between a growing Muslim population in his home state to a gradual infiltration of Islamic control.
First of all, it would be simply, we want a community. Then the police can't come in. And the contracts, the covenants of the area say that you may buy if you're the right kind of person. You may sell to the right kind of person.
The Texas Republicans' crucial issue, the spread of Muslim Sharia law. Described as a framework of daily life for Muslims, Sharia is rooted in the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. It influences each aspect of a Muslim's life, from spiritual practices like prayer and fasting to daily activities such as business transactions.
Now is the time to educate our colleagues in Congress, our citizens, to the dangers of a totally separate and disparate civilization.
Self and fellow Texas Congressman Chip Roy are leading this effort through the Sharia-Free America caucus. They say the goal is protecting the U.S. Constitution and individual freedom from Sharia's influence. This would include legal initiatives such as a no Sharia legislation, which would deny immigration benefits to devoted followers. In just 1 month, the caucus membership has grown to 26 Republican lawmakers from 17 states, including Florida Representative Byron Donalds, who says Sharia has no place in America. We will not surrender our freedoms. Illinois Representative Mary Miller says she joined the caucus to, quote, stand firmly against the radical ideology that seeks to uproot the constitutional principles and Christian values on which our nation was founded. Self points to the Trump administration's recent move to designate 3 branches of the Muslim Brotherhood as terrorist organizations.
The Muslim Brotherhood as a whole is the genesis of all of this. They are the foundation of exporting Sharia to the United States and to Europe. I mean, look at the UK, look at France. That's what we don't want to happen to America.
Congressman Self adds that on the March primary ballot, Texas voters will see Proposition 10, which calls for the prohibition of Sharia law in the state. Meanwhile, the caucus has received criticism from groups like the Muslim Public Affairs Council, arguing it fuels Islamophobic rhetoric and targets American Muslims. Reporting on Capitol Hill, Michelle London, CBN News.
Why should Christians bless and support the Jewish people and Israel? If you're a follower of Jesus, you must take his words to heart. Jesus said, salvation comes through the Jews. God chose to write his story of redemption in and through the Jewish people, and he will never turn back on the call and grace given to Israel. At CBN Israel, we have the great privilege to bless and tangibly demonstrate the never-ending love of God for the Jewish people and all the peoples of this land. Partner with us and help terror victims, immigrants fleeing anti-Semitism, refugees, Holocaust survivors, single mothers, to rebuild their lives with dignity and hope by meeting their physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. Give today and let your faith, which is rooted in Israel's story, shine for the glory of God.
In a city often defined by hostility and deeply held opinions, there's one place where a different story is unfolding. Our Middle East correspondent Joshua Swanson reports on the Jerusalem Academy of Music and Dance. Take a look.
Here at the Jerusalem Academy of Music and Dance, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian students don't argue about politics or their differences. Their focus is on togetherness as they practice, create together, and find common ground through music.
First of all, it's a language that is above all other languages, so there's no way to misunderstand people. It's kind of, we don't really care where you come from, what's your political view. There's something so special when we're creating something so much bigger than us, and then we connect. We connect through the music, through the rhythm, through the notes, through what we're playing together.
Cello student Isaac feels the same connection in the classical department.
You're going to be sitting next to somebody maybe from a Russian background, an Arabic background, Muslim background, a Christian background. You're really going to get to know each other and meet each other at parties and these kinds of things. And eventually that can mingle into, would you like to maybe spend a Shabbat dinner with my family? Would you like to come over for maybe a Christmas party at my house? If I'm going to party at somebody else's house, it's one of the most familial places, I think, actually in the country you will find. Because everybody here knows each other.
Shahad Masawa from the Arab city of Taipei agrees.
I really love the atmosphere here because of the common life. We're all together, we're all learning the same material, and in the end, we have a goal that we all want to achieve.
What these students experience each day is what supporters believe makes the Academy so unique.
A place where you see beautiful coexistence, where students from every faith in the region come together to celebrate life, to perform together, to unite, to heal. It's a beautiful thing.
That spirit of unity could be seen on full display recently during the special event, A Day of Hope. It brought together students, benefactors, and faith leaders from around the world. The event culminated in an evening gala called Symphony of Hope. Conducting student Moishi Schlertz explained what hope means for him.
I'm studying here with Muslims, Arabic people, Christians, Jewish. I'm religious, as you see. And for me, hope is to connect all the world.
Many guest performers, including CBN White House correspondent Kelly Wright, shared their desire to spread hope through music.
I prayed then, I said, Lord, if there's any way for me to come back here and deliver hope to Israel through the power of music, please make it happen.
To get on board the love train. Here we go.
At the Jerusalem Academy of Music and Dance, young students refuse to be intimidated by the conflict that marks this city. Instead, they are using the arts to build bridges of peace.
They play music together and they go home, and each one of them demonstrates or is activist for their own causes. But they know that on the other side there is a person whom they might even like, and that makes the whole difference.
We all bleed the same.
Joshua Swanson, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Just wait. Come on.
What a great story. Just like the Bible says, how good and pleasant it is when brothers live together in harmony. If you would like to find out more about the Academy or support this next generation of musicians, go to jamd.ac.il. That's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on social media, and you can access CBN content through our CBN News and other CBN apps. And please keep praying for Israel, the peace of Jerusalem, and for all those caught in harm's way. And remember, the God who watches over Israel, and you and me, neither slumbers nor sleeps. I'm Julie Stahl. For all of us here at the Jerusalem Bureau, we'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.